So the next session will be led by Seema Chaudhary. She is the head of alliances and partnerships at Harbinger. And I will let you take it away, Seema.
Thank you. Thank you, Katrina. Thanks, Walt. And I guess I'm able to share my screen, right?
I hope so.
Okay.
Totally.
Like I'm going to try. Yes. Tell me if that works.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay. I'll put it in.
And I'll keep track of your chat notes.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome everybody for Harbinger Group and Workato partnership presentation. We're going to show you why we are together, how we work together, and how partnerships help each other in general. So moving on, I'm going to actually explain you a little bit about Harbinger. Most of you know or are aware of Harbinger through this platform itself. But just to kind of a reminder of where we are, what we do as a background. So Harbinger Group has established in 1990. Yes, it's over 3 decades, and I have been with the company over 2 decades. Yes, I'm the old timer. We innovate alongside organizations. What that means is we work with software product companies, and specifically in this presentation, we're going to focus on HR. HR is our technology domain. We develop we work with clients for HR software, and mainly talking about ISVs here. We also work with enterprises. So on this slide, as you see, we are over 850 people. Our head office is in Pune. We've developed 500 plus products. What that means is products for our clients. And we also have our own product lines, which is in learning, but that's a separate topic. And I'm very proud to say that our women workforce is 43% and plus, and it's growing. And the women executive leadership in Harbinger is at 40%. So we're very proud of that. So just moving on to the next one. What do we offer? We are a software services company, but we also do managed services. On the left side, you can see that under product development, we do product management advisory. We do advise our clients. We're not a consulting company, but based on what the product roadmap is or the company outlook is, or how do they want to go to market fast, that's what we advise our clients on. And then basically product engineering is our DNA. So that's what we do. Product analysis, integrations, and automations is a very sort of a hot field right now. And of course, we are in that field. Our company started 30 years ago in e-learning, especially. So that was our kind of sort of passion, our domain. So we do have a content services team that creates custom learning, learning design, nudge learning, gamification, especially. And you'll see some of our partners in that space also when you see my partner slide. Moving on to our product DNA, like I said, we're very proud of our product design, our product engineering, our Q&A, product development, and working closely with our CTOs. So we have here are some of the, nicer awards. Brandon Hall is a very known organization over the last, I would say, yes, about 30 years in learning space. Based out of US here. So we have won several awards almost every year in some way or the other, either content creation, either technology of content, e-learning, and here are some other awards here. So I think I'll just move on to, oh, is it repeated? Okay. Anyway. So here are some of the HR specific innovations that we bring to the space. Is the resume parser, accessibility checker, health bot, like you see here, assessment engine, because our learning actually kind of we've built a foundation on learning. So for our company, it was almost like the organic transition from a learning space to learning training space to performance space to HR. So we are leading in HR technology in most of the areas of HR. Some of our HR technology expertise are in AI, automation, blockchain, yes, cloud engineering, data analytics, and gamification. So on the right-hand side, you see some of our logos, which are our most active partners, I would say. Not that we have 100, 200 partners. We partner very selectively and strategically. So Workato is the #1 partner in a platform in automation and integration, and you'll hear from AJ soon. Adobe is our learning partner, so we work very closely with Adobe on content management and content creation, Instructure, and some of these other companies that you see here. Some of our expertise in Harbinger domain. It looks pretty overwhelming, but we have worked in this space for very long, so that's why we have gathered a lot of experience in right from recruiting all the way to, like you see here, strategic resource planning back here on the right-hand side. So name it, and I think we have worked in almost every space in HR technology. And we take pride that we have consistently sort of developed and innovated with our clients in different areas, and how to sort of also bring their growth within HR technology. Yes, we work in a lot of technologies, as you see in cloud. We obviously work in the most obvious ones: AWS, Google, Azure. And I won't get into this too much because this is also quite overwhelming, but being an 800+ company, we do have expertise in almost every technology that we build. And again, we work with different technology companies, so we are always ready to come up with the capabilities that are required to work in a certain technology. And very quickly, I'll hand it over to Janhavi. And Janhavi will go over our partner. Oh, is it Janhavi or is it AJ? No, it is AJ, right?
Yeah, well, let AJ talk a little bit about.
Oh, sorry. I think I messed up my sequence a little bit. I went over too much. I'm sorry. How about AJ, open your slides and then I'll introduce both of you and then you can take over.
Sure.
Thank you, everybody, for this sort of glimpse into Harbinger. And I'll stop sharing. So AJ, you go ahead and open your presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much, Seema. Thank you for inviting the Workato team to this session today. I'm going to see if I can take over and hopefully share my screen. Bear with me for a moment. And let's get these slides actually maximized for everybody. Great. Can everybody see my screen, hear me clearly?
Yes, indeed, we can.
All right, perfect. Well, it's really exciting to be included here by Seema, by Ward, and by the team running the HRTA show today. You know, we really like these post-pandemic pants optional virtual gatherings. And I was warned by Seema that this is going to be a very conversational group today. Please don't hesitate if anybody has comments or questions on some of what we're discussing to jump in, share those in the chat, or you're perfectly welcome to jump right in and share your comment live. But yeah, I'm AJ Cook. I will kind of walk through what the Workato platform brings to the HR tech landscape. There are a few ways that we've developed some insight and some exposure to the HR technology space, both directly with the chief people officer, the chief HRO, but also, through ISVs and through this ecosystem of solution providers, as well as services providers like Harbinger that specialize as subject matter experts in the HR space. I think that the group here knows the Harbinger team fairly well, and I'm really excited to be presenting together with Janhavi, who I've partnered with on multiple customer engagements already, and absolutely with Seema. So I'm not going to talk too much about myself. I lead our major accounts initiative here for Workato's embedded platform. We'll get a little bit into what our 2 lines of business are at Workato in a moment. But the best thing to know is that I am the guy most responsible at the company right now for working with ISV customers. And so it's really exciting to be in front of this group as well. I'm going to go a little bit through at a very high level what Workato does for those of you who might be uninitiated. I know that there's some familiarity in every quarter here with iPaaS providers, as well as some of the unique insight and the benchmarking that Workato has been able to develop on the state of integrations and automations in the HR office. right, in the human resources organization, as well as some of the strategies that we've really learned and we've started to offer as a best practice for addressing integration and automation between your product as an ISV and your customer, where they have an HR organization, existing HR processes, existing HR systems of record that have to be effectively connected with your solution for everybody to get value. And lastly, I want to speak for just a moment to some of the benefit that we've seen from partnering in a very integrated way with Janhavi, with the Harbinger organization, and hand it over to Janhavi to speak to some really interesting use cases and some success stories of where we've been able to partner Workato's platform and solution with Harbinger's subject matter expertise and technological and delivery expertise as well. So what is Workato? Now, for everybody who may not be completely initiated with our platform here, it seems that everybody most likely on the call has heard of iPaaS providers before. And so what I think is a little bit different about Workato's solution is that we have really focused from the company and the product's inception on trying to create the next generation of an integration and an automation solution. The biggest question for our founders, who are also the founders of Tibco and some of the most legacy and big enterprise integration platforms, and basically the legacy connecting middleware in the software business, was how can we bring the ability to build, deploy, and manage workflow automations and application and data integrations all the way down to the level of what we call a citizen user. A normal person that's not necessarily a technical persona on the engineering or the development team or in the IT organization. And by doing that, by making this technology that much more accessible to those business citizens, in effect, we're able to unlock an entire long tail and an entire new class of process automations and business value opportunities across human resources, across every major part of the front and back office that previously were not really accessible for companies because they had to get into the queue with IT, and there wasn't access to the subject matter expertise, the people who actually understand how employee onboarding and offboarding works, right? And so that's a big part of the gap that Workato is built to help bridge for our customers and our partners. And in the same vein, we've tried not to give up or sacrifice any of the enterprise scalability, any of the compliance, security, and governance that's necessary to be able to interrogate the kinds of data and the kinds of sensitive processes that take place in a human resources organization. So you have a tool that is robust and able to tackle all of the complexity and the sensitivity of enterprise integrations, but it's accessible to a citizen user that doesn't necessarily know how to write code or even a SQL query. That would be me. And a little bit about Workato at the 10,000 foot level. I mentioned some of the kind of the pedigree and the DNA in our business. I was actually thinking about this yesterday, that in a way, it reminds me a little bit of platforms in the HR industry like Workday, right? Anil obviously was at PeopleSoft for many years. He came out of that legacy HRIS experience saying, how can I build this better? How can I modernize the way that we offer this system of record to enterprises and to HR leaders? I think that Workato comes from a very similar motivation. So Vijay, Gautam, our founders, they were founding technical members and leaders for platforms like Tibco. Vijay was the chief strategy officer when the Fusion middleware platform was being developed, the SOA suite at Oracle back in the 90s. And the biggest question became, how can we build this better? How can we make it cloud native? How can we make it a fully managed SaaS solution that is so much easier to use and to scale for our customers? That's really the motivation here. And you see that DNA across our founding team. We've also, as a result, been able to build some really early partnerships across the enterprise technology space. Actually, Workday, ServiceNow, Salesforce were all strategic investors in Workato as our company scaled through our early stages. And that kind of deep investment and strategic partnership has led to us, for instance, having some of the best connectivity to a platform like Workday out of the box that you can find. I heard some of the previous conversation here, and anybody that tells you that they can connect out of the box to Workday, probably has either a competence or an honesty problem. But at the same time, we want to try and make it as accessible as possible, to see those custom fields and objects, to be able to understand, manipulate, and map to those custom environments for a Workday or any other big monolithic system of record that we see. And Workato is built to help you do that. So I heard Jacqueline's comments about the importance of ongoing maintenance or being able to make modifications to the integration between an ISV product and those systems of record, like a Workday. That's exactly what Workato is built to help make more simple. And it was very kind of Seema to say that we're the leader in the iPaaS space. I think a good way to couch that is, well, the same thing that a lot of our customers are looking at when they buy our software. So we've had an experience now of 5 years consecutively being a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant report. And I think more importantly, perhaps than what the analysts think, apologies if there are any analysts on the call today, but I think that the validation from customers, from unsolicited reviews, and from users really speaks very loudly to the importance of creating a platform that is very easy to use, that performs well. And also, a lot of this voice of the customer data speaks to the experience that they have working with our business, working with people like me at Workato, the support experience that they have, the experience that they have of seeing updates and improvements made to our product over time. So this is something that we're very proud of, almost more, I think, the left, where we see the voice of the customer, than the right, where we see the continued progress as leaders in the Magic Quadrant. Now, I mentioned that Workato is split, in effect, into 2 ways of offering our technology. One is Workato Direct. That is where we're able to go directly to that chief people officer, directly to the business technologists who are responsible for all of the systems in the HR department. And we're able to offer them Workato as a platform to use internally, to deploy and manage their own automated business processes, to integrate their own data sources and their own systems together inside their 4 walls. And that allows us to go directly into the HR departments at companies like Box or Enbridge Gas or Payless Shoes or Racetrack gas stations. We serve a very diverse cross-section of different industries and different market segments, from enterprise all the way down to Bob's Corner Store, with our core direct automation technology. What's cool is that we can take the exact same product, the same code base, and we can also offer this as what we call an embedded or an OEM solution. That's where I work with all of our ISV partners, all of our technology companies. And the reason we do that, which I'll get into in a minute, I think it's not going to be much of a surprise to the people on the call here today, given the conversation, is that if I have a SaaS product, I'm an ISV, and I'm trying to get into a line of business like human resources, it's hard to imagine a world where the customer gets value from my product if I can't really seamlessly integrate and connect my data and the insights, the actions, the processes that I'm in charge of into the existing systems of record. And so, because we've seen that as a fairly repeated challenge across many different segments of the technology industry, we've built Workato as also an OEM or an embedded offering. We've added a layer of administrative capability, a number of tools that enable a technology provider, an ISV, to turn Workato's technology into a component of their product offering, their tech stack, and it's fully managed. And the idea, of course, is to become very resource efficient and really accelerate the offering that the ISV has when they need to connect with their customer. We'll speak more to that in just a moment. So I want to take a minute here and, rather than getting into a product demo and clicking around in a lot of detail today, happy to do that with anybody after the fact, I want to share a little bit of what Workato has learned because of our really broad exposure to integration and automation that's happening across many thousands of customer organizations. And the cool thing is that we offer an annual automation index. This is our ability both to go and survey, interview customers in a very large sample size, but also to see all of the data about how our product is being used, where it's being used, who's using it, which systems are being connected. And that allows us to play back a substantial amount of insight about how integration and automation are happening in the enterprise across all of the B2B category. What we found in our most recent benchmarking data is that HR is a really substantial portion of the overall footprint of automation that's happening in businesses. It's actually growing within our user base and our customer base at over 175% year over year. right? So we're seeing a rapid increase in the demand and the deployment of automated business processes in the human resources organization. That's probably not a big surprise for the most part to the people here. I'm sure a lot of your solutions are a big part of this trend, right? But what is interesting to me is that in some ways, the growth in automation and the expansion of these modern integrations and automations in the HR department is somewhat outpaced by other lines of business. There could be a million reasons for that. But what we're finding is that we are seeing that there's faster growth happening, that there's a larger share of this IT trend and this automation trend in other lines of business in some cases than there seems to be at this stage in human resources. I just dropped my pen, apologies. So I can't talk without my pen in my hand. So, this is a really interesting perspective, I think, for the people that are in this audience today. Because as ISVs, obviously our collective mission is to see more use of technology, more realization of efficiency and of insight in the human resources office. And we have some ideas for how we can perhaps bridge that gap together with the ISV community. As we take a closer look, by the way, obviously HR tech is not a monolith. There are many different processes and different phases of the employee's life cycle in the company that are addressed by the solutions and the ISV products that are in this call. But what we have found is that the most automated process, at least across Workato's landscape, seems to be employee onboarding, right? I think that part of that perhaps is that we've seen, a very competitive labor market with a very high volume of hiring that happened in 2020, 2021, and most of 2022. And so as a result, the employee onboarding automations that we saw grew by well over 200% just in the past year. And that process, that category, makes up about 20%, the largest share of automations that we're seeing. It's no surprise to me that probably the second most common process that's automated dovetails with employee onboarding, and that's the front end of the HR lifecycle, right? Recruiting, hiring, applicant tracking. That's where we're seeing a lot of automation also happening in the HR office. And some background that I've seen on this, obviously, we touched on this persistent kind of competition for talent, even as we've seen, some changes in trends around hiring, around layoffs in large organizations, especially in the tech industry. I think it's interesting that the reality is there's still a shortage of a lot of the roles that people are trying to hire for, right? So as a result, it's in some quarters, it's like this slowdown in hiring never happened, right? If you have AI or machine learning in your LinkedIn profile, or, you offer certain really in-demand categories of expertise, there's still an enormous amount of competition for talent. And that makes the importance of a seamless employee experience during the hiring and the onboarding process that much more important. Essentially, retention is still a strategic advantage for HR organizations that are able to make really strong use of technology and automation. And these are links to a number of Workato customers speaking and writing about the different ways that they are getting success and they're getting business value from automating some of their core processes in the human resources department. So, we'll either make this available to everybody after today's call. Happy to share the slides with anybody that would like to get a look at those, or we can certainly link them or make them available in the chat here. So let's take a look now kind of inwardly at our own businesses. As ISVs, as technology providers trying to break in and sell to the HR organization, what are we starting to learn at Workato with respect to best practices and putting the right tools in place to essentially accelerate our offering? What does it mean for our business if we can do that? Another kind of zoom out, the big picture that I think we've really seen is that, and again, this probably won't be a surprise if anybody here is on the business development or the sales side, there's a tremendous shift right now in the way that CFOs and CIOs and our customer organizations are releasing dollars, are approving investment. So if I am a technology provider, right, that makes up part of the current spend of the HR or the IT organization, or I'm a technology provider trying to sell to the HR or the technology organization in these companies, we have to know that the way that these organizations are looking at every dollar they're going to spend is changing, right? The big questions right now, the big themes for the leadership and our customer organizations tend to be optimization. How can we do more with less? Do we have any software that we don't think we need? Any software we don't think we're getting value out of? If we have 100 seats, could we get the job done with 70 seats instead this year, right? We're also seeing this demand for a lot of pressure on headcount, right? Because companies are looking at metrics like free cash flow and, how much revenue are we getting per employee in our company? And when that happens, unfortunately, I think a lot of the reductions in force we've seen in some ways have disproportionately affected organizations like recruiting, talent acquisition, and in some cases, HR generalists. And I think that the reality that some of these parts of the organization are under this pressure almost to me creates more demand for strong technology solutions and for offering that HR organization more reach that exceeds their grasp and perhaps their headcount. Right? We think a lot about the importance of efficiency and optimization as the focal point for the people that are approving software purchases right now in our customer organizations. So what do integrations mean if we can kind of put a point on it? Some of the research that Workato has seen are that when we go to sell SaaS and software solutions, over 30% of buyers are naming integrations as a priority in their purchasing decision. Right? So they're looking for that integration page on your website. They're asking for proof that you're able to integrate seamlessly with these systems during the pre-sales process. Show me that you can actually connect to Workday. Show me that you can make my employee onboarding experience work better before I make a commitment. And, I would guess, by the way, that this is a generalized statistic. If I had to guess in the HR tech space, 30% is probably quite low, right? Because if I'm going to go and I'm going to sell an HR tech product into a company, the first question I would imagine that they're asking, depending on where I serve the HR department, is, well, show me proof that you can integrate with my HRIS. Show me proof that you can integrate with my existing employee experience tools, with my collaboration tools like a Slack, right? Show me that you can integrate with my payroll system or my ERP. And so that's one side of the coin. The other has to do with stickiness or customer retention. And what we found effectively is that the more integrated you can make your product into the customer's core systems of record and their existing business processes, the more safe you are. That's really what this means, especially in the current environment, right? So when we know that a CIO or a CFO or a chief people officer is facing budget pressure in the organization, it's a lot like a game of musical chairs. And the products that are the least connected, the least integrated, are likely not to have a seat when the music stops. We're very cognizant of that here. Katrina, I can't tell if you're making paying attention faces or if you had something you wanted to contribute. Please jump in if you have a comment, by the way, because I'd love to hear your feedback.
I'm just paying much attention.
Love it. Thank you.
Yes.
This is what we get for all having our cameras on. So when we talk a little bit about Workato's specific perspective on ISVs in the HR tech space, this is a sample of about 40 plus solutions that are in the HR tech space where Workato is working specifically in our embedded offering. So we are at some level powering the integration and automation experience. It's helping these companies to go and pursue new customers and show value to their HR organizations, right? And this is just the ones that I'm allowed to show the logo for. Everybody knows how that works with a lot of our customers. So this is a very exciting space for us. Right, in the embedded platform, some of the ISVs where we see the most demand for these integration and automation capabilities, some of the places where we know people are most urgently trying to accelerate this part of their product offering are very much across this HR tech landscape. And you can see everybody probably knows these logos. They really span the gamut from employee hiring and applicant tracking and talent tools to onboarding tools to customer or employee, engagement and employee experience tools, analytics, learning and training management systems. It's the entire landscape of HR tech where we're seeing that this kind of integration and automation is very important. So I'm going to take a sip of water too. I apologize. I'm getting over a cold, everybody. Let's talk for a moment about some of the specific capabilities that we're finding customers really need, that ISVs really need to be able to effectively take this integration capability to market in their product. Some of the things that we've really focused on here at Workato, the actual features and benefits of our platform, if you will. Number one is focusing on this concept of a customer user experience. So when you go to offer integration and automation in your product, What are our customers going to see and touch, right? Workato has invested heavily in offering a number of different deployments or experiences that allow you to decide, is this going to be a services only offering? I'm going to offer Workato integrations and automation to my customer, but the customer is not really going to touch Workato at all. Maybe my implementation team, my customer success managers are going to be the owners of that integration experience. Or in some cases, are you hoping to offer more of a self-service marketplace, something that a customer can see all of the available workflows and integrations in, turn them on and turn them off at will as a part of your product offering? Maybe they even want to author or modify their own integrated workflows within your tool, within your software. Workato's built all of the capability that allows you to accelerate and make that kind of offering, right? And there's a lot of flexibility that's built into that. We'll touch on that in just a moment. And then connectivity, I think, is a very important part of the conversation as well. I heard somebody mention in the previous session that, the average number of applications that a company is expecting to use in the HR department is only increasing, right? There is a best of class or a best of breed solution probably for every single function or every phase within the HR office. And that's only going to increase. That entropy is going to increase because obviously the advent of cloud infrastructure and SaaS applications lends itself to specializing, to creating an ideal, perfect tool for each step in the HR process and the employee lifecycle. And that's great. But at the same time, when all of these ISVs come into existence and we serve the customer, instead of with 1 or 2 applications, with 5, 10, 50 applications across their company, that connectivity becomes that much more important. And for you as ISVs, when you go to position your solution and get it to fit in a way that's valuable inside of that increasingly complex and fractured HR landscape inside your customer organization, the big question is going to become, can you connect to everything I've got already? Right? Are you going to become a silo? Am I going to have trouble getting value, time to value, adoption from your tool because I can't click on a button and connect it to my chat and productivity tools, my file and document storage, my ERP, my payroll system, my HRIS, my existing employee experience and survey tools? And so Workato has very heavily invested as well in a broad library of out-of-the-box connectors, right? This is true within the HR office. It's also true in all of those adjacent parts of that company's IT organization, all of the other applications the company might have where your product could be offering value, getting more connected. Right. And then if you don't see the connectors that you want out of the box in Workato, it's another thing I heard in the last conversation, then what can we do? Workato has a number of tools that allow you to do things like ad hoc connectivity. You can initiate flat file based integrations. You can go into their 1998 on-premise build of PeopleSoft, and you can get XML messaging that comes directly out of that system and still hits a modernized integration middleware layer with Workato for your product. So you can make things like CSV files or XML messages look and feel like they're still part of a modern integration experience that you can control, right? And then even within the existing connectors we have, you'll see this if you take a look at our Workday connector in Workato, for instance, there's almost always something called a custom action. So we've captured all of the, let's call it the primary actions you can take based on the APIs that an app like Workday has. Great. But if I find one other data element or one other endpoint that I want to be able to use in a workflow automation, a recipe with Workato, those custom actions allow you to extend the existing connector that's there in a way that's still repeatable and very understandable for a user, right? So we talked a little bit about customer experience and how I want the user to interact with my integrations and my automations. We talked about, building experience. How can I show this in my product? What's some of the options that I have there? And then we talked about connectivity. The last piece of the puzzle here that I think is phenomenally important, especially in the HR space, is this concept of an enterprise platform, right? What is the difference between something you would have to build from scratch with your own product and engineering team and what Workato does, right? A big piece of that is that we've thought through a lot of the things you have to do if you're in an RFP with Procter & Gamble's HR department, or you are trying to position your technology to any, sensitive customer and their HR department, they're thinking about things like role-based access control. How are you going to be able to govern and make sure that only the right users have access to the right pieces of data, to the right parts of this Workato automation? How can I bring my customers into the situation? If I'm selling together with Harbinger Group, right? How can I create user profiles for third parties and SIs, somebody like a teammate on the Harbinger Group, to let them safely enter into these Workato automations and touch and feel that customer's workday environment? So the monitoring, the governance, the user control, all of that platforming is also built into our embedded offering at Workato. It allows you to much more confidently position this to customers that are in regulated and sensitive environments and have these enterprise security and governance requirements, right? And then lastly, obviously, there's the benefits of a SaaS solution. We are the ones that have to worry about our servers, about our load balancing, about our code breaking. And so, you get the benefit of our uptime, our reliability as a platform as well, right? If you want to create a best of breed integration and automation experience without having to build it all yourself with your engineering and your product team, these are some of the things that you're going to want to see, because you're conveying a lot of trust through the tools that you use with your end customer. So a quick note on that flexibility and what we mean by that. You're seeing here these different options that Workato offers in the embedded platform. These are different ways that you can present your integration and automation experience to that end customer as part of your product. On the left side, we talked about this idea that it might be completely services led, right? Or black box, which means that Workato is firmly kind of behind the curtain for your product. It's fully integrated into your tech stack, but the customer integrations and automations that you build are going to be configured and they're going to be managed by your teammates, by your personnel, right? Or by your services and your consulting partners, like a Harbinger Group. That end customer won't necessarily come into contact directly with Workato in that case. The middle ground here is that we have a white labeling experience that you can also build. That's where I can choose to expose a very curated version of Workato that looks and feels like my brand and my product to that end customer in some cases, right? And then as we kind of slide all the way over to a more native and a more embedded experience, Workato has a host of APIs that allow you to take specific pieces or specific aspects of our capability and represent them on your own page in your own portal in a way that feels like it's just part of your SaaS offering, part of your UI. That could be an iframe that plugs a specific piece of the Workato UI into your portal. It could be APIs that allow customers to turn on and turn off Workato recipes, or even turn a Workato automation into an external endpoint, so that you could do something like design a button, a slider, a drop-down list in your product, in your UI. And when the customer clicks on that, it fires an entire Workato automation off automatically behind the scenes. So those are some of those options we have here that convey that flexibility to an ISV partner. How do I want the customer to see, touch, feel, experience these integrations and automations? I also made a comment about the importance of security and privacy. I think this is endemic to the HR space, right? We're only dealing with PII and sensitive data when we're offering products in this space. And so an important thing to know about Workato's embedded offering as well is that it is designed from the ground up to have a security, privacy, and compliance advantage. It's a multi-tenant architecture. So without getting too software-y today, what that means is that as we go to market with you, the ISV partner, you're able to stand up a global admin workspace of Workato. That's where all of your dev and test and governance and project management lives. But then when you go to sign up Procter & Gamble or Nestle, and you sell your HR technology to the customer, they get their own fully segregated tenant of Workato's integrations and automations. So all of the customer data, all of the records, the workday credentials, everything that happens for Procter & Gamble or for Nestle is happening inside a fully segregated and governed environment. And Workato's embedded platform, because of this multi-tenancy, because of this design, is SOC 2 Type 2 compliant at the individual customer level, which I think is a very important, again, a flow through. It's an important thing for you to be able to tell your customer when you go to position this technology and position your offering to the end customer. They're wanting to know that their employee data, that their corporate information is completely locked down and safe in any of the technology that you're going to put in your stack. So what does this actually mean for our partners, right? When you go to market with this type of embedded integration and automation solution, here are some of the ways that we're seeing this as accelerator or helping our ISV customers. It's, for me, it really breaks down into resource advantages and revenue advantages for the business. Number one, by taking advantage of a tool that offers these integrations out of the box, reduces the amount of custom code, not so reusable code that has to be written, you have engineering hours really come down. Oftentimes we're working with people in the HR tech space that are having to write custom coded integrations for each customer implementation, right? And sometimes it feels like that's really important because you need that, that PeopleSoft or that Oracle HCM or that Workday expertise. The subject matter expertise is important, but what we want to do is conserve our customers' engineering resources. Right? We can do kind of a virtual show of hands. Everybody can tell me if I have all of the engineers I need and I don't feel like I need more engineers, raise your hand, right? Because most software companies are not putting their hand up right now when they get asked that question. And then this is also true of the engineering and the product resources that go into, really being able to deliver against a core roadmap. So the idea is that if I can deliver integrations faster with a best of breed solution that's already a Gartner Magic Quadrant leader, like a Workato, now I can divert all of that space, that real estate on my engineering team and my product roadmap to focus instead on my core product, on my real differentiators. That's a very important trade-off to have. And lastly, I mentioned that there's this process that goes into enabling and implementing each new customer for every ISV. Right? We want to see the resources, the time to value for that customer decrease for each new customer that you're bringing on board. That's a very important part of the way that using Workato as your integration and your automation layer gets you that efficiency in your organization and your resources. Now, what does it mean for revenue? This is the really fun part, right? What we typically see is that when we're able to offer Workato automations and integrations as part of our ISV partners product, then they're able to go into the HR department and they're able to command typically more budget. Right. So we see that, not only does top line revenue increase because they're able to sell Workato as a marked up part of their cost of goods sold, it shows more value, so they get more price. But we're also seeing in many cases, and again, this is, we can keep the show of hands kind of secret for this one, but, think to yourself, as an ISV, as a software business, have I lost deals in the last year or the last 2 years because I wasn't able to connect to a specific system? Or I wasn't able to offer the kind of integration experience that the customer was looking for. Too much friction, right? Or a competitor was able to tell a better story in their demo about how they connect with those HR tools and those systems of record. That sales win rate is a very concrete impact that we see on our ISV partners business as well. And lastly, if you're in software, you can't really get away from this concept of net recurring revenue, net dollar retention, right? We talked about that game of musical chairs not too long ago here, and that's really what we're talking about. Right? When I sign a new customer on, if I'm able to better offer them a seamless integration experience, it makes their implementation faster. Their time to value is now faster, and that's accelerated. I'm getting connected more broadly to all of the systems that they are already adopting in their business. Then when it comes time for expansion, for getting better adoption, for renewal, I have a much stronger position in the account. And we tend to see that this directly impacts net recurring revenue for our ISV partner businesses as well. That's why that guy's so excited about business, right? And so I mentioned that we have a number of these success stories and these customer stories available for people using Workato inside their HR organization. On the same token here, we have a number of these success stories and customer stories that you're welcome to access where we have ISV partners that are using Workato as an embedded part of their product offering and how that's impacting their business. So I think we're doing well on time here, Seema. I haven't seen you give me the wrap it up or play the Oscars music or anything yet. I think we're on schedule. But I want to talk for just a minute about, where we've seen so much value from partnerships like the collaboration with Harbinger Group as well. We're talking about going to market with you, our ISV partners, as part of your product offering, as part of your tech stack. When we've worked with Harbinger Group, I've done about 6 of these HR technology partnerships myself in my time at Workato. I've done a couple of them just with Janhavi and the Harbinger team myself here. What we're finding is that there's a really valuable synergy that happens. I'm really sorry for using that word, right? But Seema said blockchain, so I feel like I can say synergy. We can use all of the buzzwords in one presentation. So what we're seeing here is that Harbinger doesn't just come to the table as a technology partner. that helps with development, that helps with delivery, right? What's really valuable for our ISV partners when we go into HR tech is that Harbinger is also bringing this deep expertise in the HR line of business, right? We're talking about a group in Harbinger that's able to help you just as much with Java development as they are with succession planning in the HR department. So that is a very valuable partnership that we're seeing because of that dual expertise. They're Workato experts. They understand the big picture within development and engineering, as well as the subject matter expertise that they have specific to the HR line of business. And the way that that's played out for us as we've gone to deliver these customer engagements together is that, Workato has been better able to help our ISV partners with Harbinger to establish rapid prototyping, to put a kind of a train the trainer and an enablement motion in place, because oftentimes Harbinger is already a trusted partner for the company. And we're seeing that they're getting time to value and they're shipping their first customer integrations in production that much faster, right? Which we love to see, right? Obviously, as the technology provider ourselves at Workato. And what we're also finding again is that because Harbinger has these established and trusted relationships across the HR tech landscape already, it just puts them in a great position to have basically a seamless handing off of the baton. So in some ways, my job is over once Workato is fully implemented for that ISV partner, right? And I'm not working with them hand in hand once they're already able to start serving their customers with Workato's technology to power these integrations and these automations. But the cool thing about partnering with Harbinger as we go to empower our HR tech and our ISV partners is that Harbinger then becomes a seamless development and support resource on an ongoing basis, right? And we're seeing that becomes so important, especially if you're an ISV that's really rapidly scaling, because with Harbinger, you effectively have an implementation partner, a sales, a development partner, even a support partner that's there as a resource to help you to scale your capacity. Right. So with that, thank you so much, everybody. I think I probably only could talk for another 90 seconds before my voice went out completely anyway. So perfect timing. I'd love to hand it over to Janhavi and Seema and hear a little bit more about Harbinger's point of view on Workato and this partnership.
Thank you. Thank you, AJ. Wonderful. I'm going to hand over quickly to Janhavi. Janhavi, I will do the slideshow here.
Okay, sounds good.
And let me make sure I share my screen.
And it was perfect. So I think Seema introduced Harbinger, as many of you, if not all, have probably heard about Harbinger on this platform before, and great to hear AJ talk about a little bit about Workato and kind of give you that big picture of, the unique proposition for HR tech and HR in general that Workato offers. So my job is easy now. It's just rounding off, how did this partnership come about, and what is the value it brings. And I think some of it, AJ, you already spoke to, so it makes my talk time even shorter. But anyway, so I think I want to take a step back. We all know, or most of us know about Harbinger as the technology solutions provider in HR tech, the tech behind HR tech. But how did we get on to this integration and automation journey? A lot of it, as you know, we work a lot with technology companies, with HR tech companies, and we are a software development services, our core business. Along the way, as the HR tech, and a lot of it, the integration, how we got into integration and automations is by virtue of being in the tech space, and especially the HR tech space. I heard somebody talking about HR open standards. That's a huge pain point, right? A lot of, it's still not there yet. And, the HR tech space is so fragmented that about a decade ago, we started seeing requests from our customers wanting to make those integrations across the ecosystem, right? It started with one-off integrations. That's how, you're working. So you're working with as a development partner, they come in, hey, can you help us with integrations? That's where our journey started, really, the integrations and the automation space. And over the years, we've pretty much developed and deployed over 100 different integrations across various enterprise platforms. So be it CRMs, HRIS, ATSs, learning management systems, IT systems, collaboration platforms. I know AJ mentioned some of those earlier, and even business and productivity platforms. So, while working with the HR tech, there was a lot of different use cases that we catered to that required us to integrate with all of these. And then some of our customers in enterprise and other sectors too, who needed some of these integrations. So that's where our integrations journey started. Seema, if you could move on. And then over the years, this is just a I would say just a teaser of what some of the integrations we have done over the years. This is by no means an exhaustive list, doesn't even scratch the surface, but gives you, and it's in no particular order, it's just a set of different integrations we have accomplished, both custom as well as with Workato. So going back to our sort of history in time, we started out doing, obviously, as the HR tech space evolved, and we started getting those requests. Because we're a tech company, the obvious choice was, custom integrations. And at that time, it was more one-offs type of integrations that were required. But as both the HR tech industry sort of evolved, and in parallel almost, the iPaaS space evolved too. We realized that those one-off integration requests became multiple. The tech companies wanted to have multiple different integrations. Then it was all about scale and maintainability and time to market. And that's when we decided that, while custom may make sense for those one-off integrations, for integrations at scale, and a lot of it, which we've seen our HR tech customers sort of wanting is, I want to integrate with these 10 different ATSs, and oh, by the way, these 5 payroll systems. So that scale, that's something working with an iPaaS was almost a no-brainer, and partnering with an iPaaS to deliver those integrations at scale. So if you can, Seema, move to the next slide. That's really where we decided to, more than almost 3 years now, decided to partner with Workato to deliver those integrations and automation at scale. And why Workato? Well, I think AJ has given us more than one reason or why we chose. That was a strategic decision to go with Workato, a market leader. We wanted to partner with someone that we could, that we valued and we thought of highly as well. So that was more of a strategic decision to go partner with Workato. And it's been a fantastic partnership since, because we have been able to really deliver customer success, because time to market for these, and for reasons that AJ already talked about, like revenue, resources, I think being able to, when the revenue is on the line, when new business is dependent almost in many cases with integrations and automation, being able to deliver those integrations and automations at scale, that's what we've been able to do with Workato. So Harbinger is a preferred partner of Workato, especially in the HR tech space, embedded as well as in the enterprise. And over the last 2.5 years, we have some really good success stories that we've built together. And it's like having the power of two, the cutting edge best of breed platform with a technology services company that understand HR tech, the domain itself, and is Workato. We are Workato certified solution consultants. We have certified engineers and architects as well, who really understand the Workato. So it's not just HR tech, it's not just technology, it's not just Workato. It's a combination that's really the winning sort of recipe, if I can call it that. And then last but not least, it's the rapid development and scale. AJ talked about resources, the resource crunch, or saving the bandwidth of your engineering to focus on their core IP, while handing off to a trusted partner like Harbinger to develop these integrations at scale. So being able to do rapid development, being able to scale. So if we want to do 3 integrations in parallel, sure, Harbinger can help you support, help you with that, those kind of things. So for all of these reasons, I think we've seen some great customer successes, especially in the HR tech space. And with that, I forgot I wasn't presenting. Yeah. So with that, what I'll do is just take quick 2 minutes to talk about a couple of interesting case studies that we've, these are mutual customers. The first one is a leading reference check platform. And this one is significant because, it's a relationship, it's a customer of Harbinger that goes back more than 10 years, more than a decade. And that's what we say, at Harbinger, we value our customer relationships and pride ourselves in long-term customer relationships. So one of our customers that started out more than a decade ago, who we are doing our, who we are helping them build their platform, they basically, what they do is when a candidate applies and there's reference checks to be done, it's a platform that allows employers to send out reference checks, surveys on behalf of the employer for those candidates. And obviously, there's when we're talking thousands of employers, if not more, and so many different candidates that they're reviewing every day, there's those emails and surveys quickly add up. So over the years, they've sent out 30 million emails to candidates and reference candidates and references. That's as of today. And Harbinger has over a 50 people team there that's helping them with the core development. Part of the process, again, as you can imagine, what they wanted to do is to seamlessly and quickly in real time automate those candidates that are coming into the ATS and HRIS, bring them into the platform, do the reference check and post back the information back to the ATS and HRIS, and with as minimum time lost as possible, right? So that's where the integrations came in. Sure enough, we started with custom and did several different custom integrations. And then after the Workato partnership and they saw the value in Workato, and I have now onboarded Workato, and we've done several different integrations already using Workato for this customer. They're now going to end time looking at going back and porting over some of the key integrations that were done custom earlier and having them under the Workato umbrella. And it's been a successful sort of integration and automation experience for them. Seema, next one, please. Really quickly, another case study of a mutual customer. It's a high volume hiring platform, hourly hiring. So the gig workforce looking to hire, we're talking scale here, scale of hiring, basically, right? We are talking not thousands, hundreds, but tens of thousands of employees, gig workforce that are coming on board, offboarding very quickly, hourly workforce. So really the time was of essence where, they wanted to automate the hire, rehire, terminate process by integrating their platform with the leading HCM platforms out there, starting with ADP Vantage, then moving on to Greenhouse and Workday. So we created, without going into the super technical details, we created actually recipes at a high level, created recipes to create the ADP Hire API payload, and that got pushed to the newly approved hire candidates got sent to ADP Vantage. And then when employee records were terminated, the reverse the event message sort of pushed into the event queue, and that was picked up by the Workato middleware and pushed to the client system to notify them. So in the end, the customer actually saved 50% of processing time in hiring of these hourly workforce. And then the last one, that's a really quick one.
2-minute marker.
Yes. This is my last slide, really.
Okay.
It's an engagement platform that's trying to capture and sync praises and kudos across workplace chat applications and bring it into the engagement and wellness platform. So we worked with the Slack and Teams workbox. That is also a feature of Workato, and the client was able to use the connectors successfully to get those praises and kudos in real time. But yeah, just different applications of Workato here at play with our mutual HR tech customers. And with that, I'll hand it back to Seema and, sign us off. But yes, thank you everyone for this opportunity to present our partnership and what we do with Workato.
Well, I'd certainly recommend they follow up with Janhavi or Seema, and certainly AJ from a Workato standpoint, but terrific partnership. Well done. Very well done. Very exciting. I mean, any of the ISVs out there should want to collaborate in the same way, because there's so much to do and everybody has their expertise, and it's pretty clear how you two work together. It's amazing. Nice job.